We're going to the pit
here we have our match. So that's Shahar Shenhar on the left of your screen, and Eddie Caudill on the right of your screen. We don't have deck lists yet, so we're not quite sure what they're playing, though I would not be surprised to see Shahar lead with Seachrome Coast.
Caudill also rocking a tie, which apparently is a fashion statement the local Phoenix players are making this weekend. Leads off with a Rootbound Crag and a Glacial Fortress.
It's not a Seachrome Coast. It's a Glacial Fortress. Yeah. So. Looking at Eddie's hand, I see Galv Blast. I see an Inkmoth Nexus, so it looks like he's certainly playing
on a ramp deck, yeah.
Yep. And Shahar with a Ponder, looking at a pretty beta island.
A Delver and a Snag.
I think that's
Dungeon Geist.
Dungeon Geist and Vapor Snag. Haven't got a good look at his hand, so can't be sure what he really needs right now. But he probably can pretty easily assume that his opponent is playing ramp rather than aggro at this point, given that his opponent hasn't made a play on turn 1 or turn 2.
Yep.
It has to be a really bad hand for you to end up not playing anything by this point if you were playing red-green beatdown.
And the Nexus is the dead giveaway.
There's the clue. Eddie's hand, I don't see.
I don't think he has a 4th land.
I see a green Sun Zenith in his hand. Does his? Maybe his deck doesn't have Birds of Paradise.
Yep.
Or maybe he's trying to hold that. I think you've got to find Birds of Paradise here if you have one in your deck, but especially against the Geist of Draft. Geist is a serious clock, and there's a Huntmaster who's not going to be. No, did we? He's green turning for
Zenith
2.
For 2.
Oh, maybe he has Viridian Emissary in his deck. He's Faithless Looting. That's an interesting inclusion. So he decided not to Zenith. Oh, not quite a Viridian Emissary. It's a Dawn Treader Elk. So that can at least block Geist of St. Traft if it comes in and there's nothing to stop the elk. But
unfortunately, we are aware of a snag in Shenhar's hand.
Yeah, he did leave a snag on top with that Ponder, so that elk is not going to do much blocking. That's a Batter Skull in Eddie's hand?
Yeah. So there's the snag. So we'll be getting in for 6, plus the one from the snag will drop Caudill down to 13.
So that's Geist is a very fast clock.
Yes.
Eddie does not have much time, and did you get a good look at Shahar's hand? Does he have a mana leak?
I assume so because I saw an Invisible Stalker and a Pike. So passing with the 2.
Yep, there's a mana leak right there. Stronghold, in fact. So
trying to keep it classy.
He did draw a land, so he's gonna try and cast that Huntmaster in his hand right here, but it's not gonna resolve. Or maybe.
Well, unless he has 2 spells to play, there's kind of no way that he can not cast one of his 4s. So that's going to draw out a leak.
Getting mana leaked.
Does he have a follow-up play?
Doesn't. Huh. Shahar gets to crack in for another 6 here.
Another Ponder. Looking at Snapcaster Mage, Divine Offering, and Seachrome Coast. Sort of the old schoolness is kind of funny. I can't quite tell a Dungeon Geist from a Delver on first blush, but I can instantaneously recognize a Legends Divine Offering.
Definitely much prettier than the other Divine Offerings.
And having a Snapcaster in the cut is especially devastating because he's going to make his 4th land drop and then have access to Snag or Mana Leak as appropriate next turn.
Yeah.
So there's a Pike.
So Eddie, there's not many spells that Eddie can even play here that would do much against that.
Right.
I mean, he's going to play his
Huntmaster kind of gets him somewhere, right? Because he gets to block.
I mean, he gets to block, but he's still facing.
He's way behind.
Yeah, he's still facing the Pike.
And Dungeon Geist and Snapcaster.
Well, I mean,
Snag.
Shahar doesn't even need to play anything else to win with this. Like he just pikes up his Geist here, and he has how many spells in his yard? 4. So it's a 6-power first striker. So Eddie takes 4 from the Angel. So he has to block, so he takes 4. He goes to 5 life. And he doesn't even have 5 mana, so he's not even threatening to cast a Titan or anything next turn.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Shahar just sends in here. And...
I assume the wolf will
there's
be...
the angel. Making sure we have the real pretty angel. The wolf will jump in front of that.
Yep.
And then Eddie goes to 5 life. And Shahar can just say go. It doesn't really... I mean, I guess he should...
Stalker. He has a
I guess he might as well cast the Stalker. Yeah, he should just cast the Stalker that doesn't flip. But it wouldn't really matter too much if that Hunt Master
even if he does flip, yeah.
Because it's, whether it's a 4/4 or a 2/2, it's not really doing much. Looks like, is that a red Sun Zenith?
Another targeted removal spell. Hooray! And a concession, yep. There it is.
So yeah, Eddie had a very, very slow start there. It's pretty important for a Wolf Run deck to actually get out to a fast enough start with ramp spells. I'm not sure. I mean, I assume he must not have Birds of Paradise in his deck if he didn't Green Sun Zenith for it there on turn 2.
Yeah.
I probably would have mulliganed that hand. Sort of looking at it in retrospect, he just didn't have enough action against against most of the field in order to actually be able to get in the board fast enough. I mean, if he had if he knew Shahar was playing Delver and he had a Slagstorm in that hand, maybe I think it's a potentially a competitive hand, but with just a bunch of big threats and no ramp, it's pretty hard to keep that.
Yeah, it's not quite sure what hand that's actually going to be favored against.
Mm-hmm. So
the fact that you don't even have your 4th land to, you're not even guaranteed to make your plays.
Right. Even if you don't just get overwhelmed early, you're still not really positioned to do very much.
This is a matchup you have a little bit of experience with.
I did play against a couple of Delver decks in the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
And I mean, the most important cards then, at least, you really needed ramp spells. It was very important to have Rampant Growth or Sphere on turn 2. And the way that our sideboard plan worked, we don't have the deck list for these players right now. But the most important cards, actually we do, I'm lying. They are getting handed to me as I speak. The most important cards were Huntmaster and Thrun. Basically, you didn't want to be playing a Titan deck after sideboarding. You wanted to be playing a 4-drop deck because their deck interacts much more favorably against big spells than they do against medium spells. In particular, Thrun, which can brick wall most of what they're doing on the ground while you're able to clear everything else out with Slivestorm, Gallop Blast, Whip Flare.
Yeah, a big part of it too is often they're going to be siding against some combination of Flash Freezes and Dissipates, which makes it even more challenging to get to your 6s. Shenhar needs a new pen. We'll start there.
Yeah, this is a kind of spotty copy we have here.
It looks like he has...
Ooh, he's got some spicy ones in the sideboard. Not for this matchup necessarily, but he's got some spicy ones. I do see he has 2 copies of Dissipate, which will definitely be coming in. Celestial Purge is a reasonable card to bring in against Huntmaster, though in a Pike-based version, it's less significant.
Yeah.
Because you don't really care too much about the Huntmaster body on the ground, whereas the Spirit versions or the less hexproof based versions do care much more about just guys gumming up the works.
Do you think he wants Phantasmal Image here?
I think that Phantasmal Image is a card that he probably needs to bring in case of Thruns, even if he doesn't necessarily know that his opponent has a number of Thruns. And looking at Eddie's list here, he has 1 copy of Thrun. He has 2 Ancient Grudges, a Slagstorm, and a Whip Flare that are likely to come in.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I like to sideboard this matchup was we actually boarded out all of the Solemn Simulacrums because you couldn't afford to have a card that you're spending 4 that doesn't have a big board impact right away. We also boarded out the Primeval Titans down to 2 of them because Inferno Titan was more powerful in terms of having immediate board impact. But he has a lot of different cards than we did too. He has Red Sun Zenith. He has the Batterskull in his main deck, which is pretty sweet. He only has 7 actual 2-drop ramp. He only has 3 Sphere of the Suns to go with his 4 Rampant Growths.
It appears that actually
he has 2 Faithless Looting, which is interesting. Yeah, he looks like his last. He made a couple cuts or something. He went. There's some scribbles here. It's always interesting to see the scribbles on players' deck lists to see sort of their last minute decisions. And I don't know what sort of came in at the last minute, but there's a scribbled out Bird of Paradise, Scribbled out 4, Sphere of the Sun's going to 3, and it looks like his mana got switched around. But
Scribbled out Birds of Paradise is really it's a nice feature given how game 1 went.
Yeah. But he does he does have one Wormcoil Engine in his deck, which we saw last game. I'm not a big fan of Wormcoil Engine in ramp decks because it's a card that doesn't really match up well in the situations where you're playing a 6, in which when your 6 actually resolves, you need to do something. And while Wormcoil Engine is really powerful against a deck like, say, Zombies, against a deck like Delver, you have to do something even if they Vapor Snag it.
Yes.
Because you don't get that many windows to actually resolve something. So you need to count when it does. All right, well, we're in game 2 here. Eddie has once again started with a Rootbound Crag. Shahar has a Pretty Beta Island into a Ponder, which he is pondering about.
And it looks like he has some sort of custom art checklist card, so presumably that is a...
Guessing
it doesn't look like a Magic card, so I had to assume
he either has like the Ace of Spades or Delver in his hand.
2 lands and an Old Maid.
I'd mulligan that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what Edition Mountain that is, but it can cast spells.
I think that's Portal 3 Kingdoms.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa, it might be.
Fancy.
Oh, and
another Ponder.
No 2-drop Accelerant from Eddie yet again. Shahar with another Ponder.
Looking at 2 lands and a Dungeon Geist.
Is it a Dungeon Geist?
I think.
I thought it was a Mana Leak.
Listen, if it was a card from Legends and a card from Arabian Nights we were debating, I would have a better eye for this stuff, but...
So
we are
going
shuffling.
To shuffle. So we may never know. The world may never know what card that was.
I've done obviously in the last few weeks quite a bit of covering of Delver matchups, and I'm pretty sure they have not shuffled with Ponder roughly 95% of the time. So this is new territory.
And we're gonna see.
He rips a Leak, and we'll probably see a Glacial Fortress, and what I assume is a.
Yeah. That's kind of cool looking.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
It looked like he was just gonna pick up his deck. He's just putting it back. He's like, I got a Delver for. What am I searching?
So here's Faithless Looting.
All right. Well, he draws a
Galvanic
Blast, which is almost certainly gonna kill that Delver. And it looks like he has. So
he has 3 more lands in his. He has 3 more lands in his hand. So presumably he wants to keep 2 of them because he has a bunch of 4s in his hand, so he's going to probably discard a land and one of his big things, would be my guess. He also has a Slag Storm in his hand, and a Galvanic Blast, so it'll be interesting to see if he's actually willing to Gal Blast right now, or if he's going to try to sandbag and set up a better Slag Storm.
Is that not a Grudge in his hand? Seems like
if he had a Grudge, this would be very
fat.
Yeah. Just landing Grudge.
You can't discard land here. That's so. Oh, that's. I think that's pretty greedy.
That is really greedy.
He's Gal Blasting right now.
Yeah, he's just going to fire this off, which I like.
Yeah, I totally agree with that play. I definitely think you have to keep one of those lands. He has to draw lands to cast any spells next turn.
I probably would have gotten rid of either one of the 4s.
I would have discarded the card that I would have sideboarded out. So that's my theory. And he draws a land that comes to play tapped.
And Shenhar drew a Moorland Haunt. That turn was actually a pretty awesome draw for him.
Yeah, because he gets to hold up mana and still have a threat. So Eddie is in. He's a bit behind here. He wasn't able to play a spell that last turn, which means he wasn't even able to get the leak out of Shahar's hand. So he has a decent amount of action in his hand, but
although it's actually Eddie's in reasonable shape here because Shenhar doesn't have a 4th land and his hand is just glutted with action.
Sure. Well, there's another land. So if I were Eddie here, I would play Solemn because Huntmaster you really want to resolve.
Yep.
Yeah, there's the Solemn.
And Shenhar has to do something here because he can't just afford to just have his hand get jammed up.
Mm-hmm. See, I guess Shenhar drew
a land, which is very good for him.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of have a question for you. If you're in Shenhar's position, do you think you're supposed to lead with mana lead, with Dissipate there rather, just to be more mana efficient since your hand is so jammed up. Because now with a 4th land, he could presumably play a 2-mana spell and still leak, which is...
Well, he has a Snapcaster in his hand, so he wanted to... He still has access to Dissipate the following turn, and if he draws a land, he can Snapcast Mana Leak, whereas he couldn't Snapcast Dissipate. And Snapcaster lets him get more pressure on the board. So Eddie looks to have drawn Batterskull, and looks to just wants to cast it. Seems fairly certain it's not going to resolve, and it really shouldn't, I think.
Well, I think that Shenhar has a snag in his hand, so he's probably just debating snagging the Germ versus using a counterspell here.
Mm-hmm. I guess he doesn't have that many cards to subword out, but Snag's an unusual card to have in his deck after sideboarding, at least in any significant number. Yeah, I agree with this play. I think he wants to get more pressure on the board.
Yeah.
And he can still potentially snag his Snapcaster back. Ooh, that's a Pike, which is okay.
Well, if he taps out, he can't really tap out for a Pike here because the risk is just too high.
He can potentially get tightened. Yeah. He's not really doing enough damage.
Right.
That's a Inferno Titan, I believe, the sweet little promo one that you got from... And there's Huntmaster, which I believe is going to get dissipated. Maybe not. Seems like if you're going to hold up Dissipate mana there...
you don't have a choice.
You really have to dissipate that Huntmaster.
And Shenhar has drawn another Delver. And he's getting into a pretty rough position here because I don't think he has any alternative but to play into Slagstorm.
I mean, like, he can... This, I think, is his alternative, really.
Yeah, but this exposes him pretty badly, too.
Yeah, but, I mean, like, this is certainly better than just playing another creature.
Yeah, if he played Geist or whatever.
Yeah. So he... Though, if Eddie draws a land here, he's getting Inferno Titaned.
He did and he didn't. So he doesn't really have a choice here but to Slagstorm.
Yeah, he's got to kill those. Well, he can Whip Flare, which I think is actually worse. I think you actually do want a Slagstorm. Like Whip Flare, he could potentially play around counter magic better. So here,
it's a real bummer from Caudill's position because with Inferno Titan there, then he gets to Inferno Titan all the targetable creatures,
and
then he has his sweep in backup for all the hexproof stuff, and now he's just aligned in a much worse way.
Well, this is going to summon a Whip Flare. And no, it's Inferno Titan. It's a little dangerous since it can't kill the Geist, and if Shahar has Vapor Snag, he's dead. Because Shahar can Vapor Snag that, equip, and kill him. I think I think the safe play there is certainly to Whip Flare.
It's possible he just wanted to pick his spot, to actually cast his 6.
And there, he sees the Whip Flare, and
there's a snag, and then there we go.
And there it is.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, Shenhar takes the match 2-0 with some powerful Pike damage.
Yes.
We definitely saw Eddie's deck not really come together in either of those games. He didn't really have any early ramp in either of them, and he had in that game he had a combination of at least threats and answers that he could cast, but not quite fast enough.
So, what do you think the logic is behind having a card like Faithless Looting? What I see is the potential logic is that the ramp decks often have a very difficult time balancing mana versus action, where you either ramp into nothing or are just you have a handful of 6s and no way to actually get there fast enough. And theoretically, looting can smooth out those sort of draws. Yeah,
I mean that's absolutely the theory behind it. And when someone had actually mentioned that card to us as a possible card in ramp at the Pro Tour, we thought, that actually